Hey guys, welcome back. Today we have an eBay episode. We have a little incident that some people discovered they had in common on E4. I'm sure there are many others affected, and I'll just say right now, if you were affected by this and you're having issues resolving this with eBay, I mean it should go in your favor, and you need a little assistance. You need to be able to contact them. I know it's a pain in the butt if you don't have the proper channels, the proper connections. So please do feel free to join my Discord and reach out if you're in need of assistance and you've been affected by this individual or something similar. I can do my best to give you some instructions, give you a phone number that you can give them a little shout and see if they can't resolve it for you. I think this is like a cut and dry case, but I just don't want anyone to end up like not having the resources or the ability to get this resolved, because the amount of money that's going on here, the amount of people, or the amount of the chargeback dollar amount here is something that can sway somebody to not sell on eBay whatsoever. You got to know what you're doing in these cases, and if you don't, feel free. We'll help you out in the Discord. So. All right, we have another buyer to block. Also, if you're not, you should be selling on eBay. If you're a Pokemon collector, if you're buying and selling stuff, you need to be on eBay. It's the place to be, whether you like it or not. There's basically nothing that's going to get that many eyes on your listings, on your stuff that you're selling. Even if you don't want to be a Flip Dipper 69, if you end up with stuff that you purchased and you don't really want anymore, if you end up with duplicates, whatever it may be. You're still going to want to, in order to remain, not just leaking money all over the place and end up with a bunch of stuff that you don't necessarily want. You're going to want to be selling your stuff at some point. It's fine. You can buy other stuff with it, other Pokemon cards even. Yeah, good idea to get on there. And let's look at the issues here. I know there's a lot of people that are afraid to sell on eBay. Because, yes, you're going to have issues. You're going to have a certain percentage of your transactions that people are going to try to scam you. You can prevent most of that if you have evidence that you shipped the item and if there's tracking on it. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to add tracking to items. And in that case, you can be susceptible to wrongdoers. There are people out there that are terrible people that will try to steal from, the little guy. The little guy that's just trying to sell some stuff on eBay. We've seen all kinds. We've seen also drop shipping people that will claim item not received. They're selling on Amazon. They get you to send the item to the person that's going to receive it. So all of this comes down to you need to pay attention to what's going on. You need to have the right information, and we have that. We can help you out to the best of our ability. Not saying that you can never get scammed ever, but it's also important to update your block list. I have instructions for that. There's a Discord channel with recommended people who you should have blocked. Just like this is another case right here. This is someone that, as we'll see, probably lost their account. But at the same time, as soon as you hear something like this going on, if you have somebody that is seemingly scamming you, you can't be mean to them. You can't be like, hey, a wiener baby, I slept with your mother last night, and there's no sense, because that's just going to end up getting you negative feedback as a seller. What you got to do is, if it's something that you can't get your money back, you have to suck it up. You block the person, and they can't purchase from you anymore. That's the resolution. There is a block list, a suggested block list in the Discord. There's a specific channel for it. There's also a link to where you need to go in order to. It's a little bit hard to find. I won't lie. But there's a link, a direct link, so you can just kind of copy paste that into your browser when you're logged into eBay, and it'll bring you to the page where you can add people to block. You can just copy paste in the suggested list, and then add from there every now and then. Again, we can't add everyone in existence to that block list, everyone that said mean things to you in the DMs that you were fighting with. But if there is somebody that's scamming, that's actively scamming, that's actively like pretending that items were not received and drop shipping or something stupid like that, they can be added to that list. So feel free to reach out if you have something like that going on. It's better to ask in the general chat of the Discord, and there's always a link down below for the Discord. But better to ask stuff like that, whether it's is this card fake kind of thing, just in case I can't get to it right away. My DMs are just an absolute fiesta. they're backed up to oblivion. And it's also just better for issues like this, that everyone that is in the chat gets to read them. Not only can someone else learn from what's going on if I'm able to help or somebody else is able to help, but it also helps everyone get a better understanding and potentially help somebody else in the future. So there are ways to work around these scammers, and we gotta bring them all in. And again, you should be buying and selling stuff on eBay. I know it's not everyone that's on the Facebooks and all the other platforms for buying and selling stuff. Your Mercaris and stuff like that. No, not everyone's a scam baby 69 on there, but in terms of buyer protection, and well, seller protection to a certain extent. So the seller end is more beneficial because more eyes are on it than anywhere else. For the most part, you can throw it off any scammeronis that want to take advantage of you. So here we have it. We have AMCGL58, quite the username, and E4. If you're looking for stuff to look up, the guides, previous stuff like that, the latest news and things like that, it's probably a good idea to be on E4. I know that the forum technology is not exactly hip with the zoomies, the zoomers at this point in time. But yeah, good idea to, good resource, there, basically archived information. And whenever there's something like that that's relevant to a video, usually I'll provide links to whatever thread is the important one. Okay, let's go. We just got a message from eBay that a buyer is attempting a chargeback for an order placed exactly 30 days ago. And we're going to see here there are several people who have issues with the same buyer. And that's saying something. Yes, most of the people that are on E4 are probably selling on eBay. There's a good chance that they're selling items that are expensive enough to be a target for this. But it's also a huge red flag that this person has, the ability to dispute this many transactions. And it looks like they're doing it on the credit card end of things, not necessarily directly through eBay, because they left positive feedback and received the item. So they're doing it on the credit card end of things. They're going to get themselves in a lot of trouble legally. And hopefully something like this just can't happen anymore. This is stressful for anyone that doesn't necessarily have a lot of extra funds. Just to see that you got a dispute for $600 here, and we'll see even larger ones coming up here. So the buyer, the Pokemon Professor, and you got to be careful with this because as we'll see in the thread here, you can imagine there's probably quite a few people that go by some variation of Pokemon Professor on any platform or on eBay or whatever. So the exact way that this is typed in is the key here, and the location of the seller that is, or I guess he was a buyer and a seller. In this case, he's scamming on the buyer end of things. And we have here the buyer filed a payment dispute with their payment institution directly. You're protected for this dispute under eBay seller protection policy. We'll close this dispute once we receive the dispute outcome from the buyer's payment institution. You're not required to take any action right now. So if for some reason you didn't get this message, hopefully you did. This is wild that they kind of even tell you what's going on here. I don't know if I don't think they mention anything. It says I'm completely covered and won't be on the hook for this, but I advise adding them to the block list. So if for some reason you don't have this message, if you haven't talked to eBay, and the messaging with eBay is a little sucky. You get a lot of automated generated responses back, which they're not great. They're not great at all. It's better to actually call them on the phone. And again, if it gets to that point, then you reach out to me, and I'll get you a number that you can actually talk to somebody. And then anything like this, if it looks like it's something that's a big enough scam, again, I think eBay has caught it already. Then I do have the means to actually contact some higher ups at eBay, and whether or not they want to do anything about it, that's up to them. But we can bring it to their attention. This is more of an educational piece, so we're going to call it. So. Yeah, he's attempting a 4K chargeback on me, says Evaner. Looking forward to eBay's action on this since my card went through authentication and he left positive feedback. Yeah, so that's interesting. And I think in that case, in this situation, what he's doing, It's more eBay that has to worry about them, but we've seen it before with the authentication program, with any of that stuff. We had some weird things going on, some stuff that probably definitely wasn't the buyer or seller's fault, or usually one or the other, or neither. So again, it varies per case, but here we have Dill, who says, looks like they've been doing this all year. We have great buyer, no issues, prompt payment, easy transaction, because they left feedback, they got the item, so they get the positive feedback. And that's the thing too, when you're looking at buyers, and you want to be 100%, or sellers, buyers or sellers, when you're looking at someone's profile, even if they have 100% feedback, it doesn't mean that they're not scamming. We had Arjun Dillon, who had 100% feedback, because when he was sending the fake stamped cards to anyone, and they realized it, he was like, oopsie doopsie, I didn't mean to, that was someone that scammed me. And then he was off the hook. So when you're seeing anything like this, if you see something sketchy, and don't necessarily just let them off the hook on it. If it looks like something that might be a trend, maybe it's worth reaching out to me, and I'll take a look at it. But yeah, I can take a look at everything. If it's like a $2 card that someone like claimed it was damaged, but it wasn't damaged when you sent it or something like that, like I can't look at that. But if it's something on the higher end, if it's like someone that sends a bunch of cards to you and they're all fake, or they're all altered, or they're all fake stamps or whatever, then definitely reach out to me, and I can see if anyone has the same issue. In this case here, it looks like there was enough going on, enough repeated that even just someone bringing this up resulted in others knowing or saying that they have the same problem. All right, what a POS. If this buyer has been routinely doing this, you think eBay would take legal action or do an IP ban? Yeah, you would think so. And if he was doing it on, like, he was apparently doing it on the final day, we'll look at the profile and I'll give you guys a look at it. And I gotta say, eBay, you gotta get rid of the ability to like private things. You should not be able to private your feedback. You should not be able to private like who's bidding on items. None of that should be an option. Like, if you shouldn't have anything to hide. If the buyers want to hide themselves, they can either have an alternate, eBay account that they can bid on if they don't want people to see that they're buying out a certain expensive card or something like that. It already blanks out the name. The feedback can kind of be a giveaway if it's something, if it's like 14,233, like there's probably only so many Pokemon buyers and sellers that have that exact feedback, and can be identified that way. So again, it's all important. It all should be very transparent. No, you shouldn't get to see up your, the bidder's sister's skirt. Like, that's not. We're not asking for that. We just want to be able to see. Also, there needs to be some kind of like feedback for buyers that are doing sketchy things. It just needs to exist, even if it's restricted in some way. The fact that you can't leave negative feedback for someone that's a buyer that's scamming or whatever, I don't know what they need to implement there, but it feels bad when buyers can. There's so much buyer protection, which is good as a buyer, but it might be a little bit too far in that favor. All right, so they think that maybe it's somebody that was on E4, but it's not. That's a different person. Again, the Pokemon Professor name is pretty common. Here we go. We have Ace Bren, who says, attempting chargeback on me as well. We got 3,050 Australian dollars. So these are some juicy transactions. Whether or not did he purchase, I don't know, we can look. It's too bad the bidder history is all hidden, and then also the account has been seemingly shut down. But yeah. We have some people speculating on like how much he's stolen. Man, it could be a ton. So we have how many non-E4 members do you think this is happening to right now with the values we know from this thread, in addition to how brazen this is? I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to scam $50,000 plus in chargebacks. Yeah, I mean, we already saw a few that were like 3,000-4,000, and that's just within a few members of the forum. So that's some pretty wild stuff. So we got some people asking about in terms of a law. This is a grand larceny, apparently. Says Dill. Says if he resides in Alaska, as others have suggested, he's already at a second-degree grand larceny charge. Max 5 years in prison, up to a $50,000 fine. If he's racked up more than $25,000 in chargebacks, it would be a first-degree grand larceny charge. Man, I'd be surprised with the amount that we've seen on the screen here, the examples that they have brought up, that it wouldn't be over $25,000. Yeah, we got 10 years in prison. It's weird to me that somebody is doing this, that is dumb enough to do this with this much money, that has access to this much money. Because if they're making the purchases and then doing the chargeback, like, what kind of credit card do they have that they're able to rack up? And again, we don't know exactly how much money it is, but I think the speculation that was done here with like the $50,000 is, it wouldn't surprise me. It would surprise me if it was less than that, based on like how many people are posting on here. So we had some clarification. And again, and then Phil's card says, I didn't not know people can make their feedback private. What's the point of feedback if the person can just make it private? So that's the thing too. If you can only leave positive, well, first issue is you can only leave positive feedback to a buyer. Not only that, but the fact that he is, he's buying the stuff, he's leaving feedback. So then the people that are selling also want to return the favor and leave him positive feedback. So there's essentially no other way other than leaving the, like, follow-up feedback, as we'll take a look at. Or I guess, no, we saw that already. Guys, disregard what I'm saying. Sellers who leave buyers' feedback on eBay can't leave a negative feedback. So I've often seen positive feedback, but they leave details in the comments. But with private feedback, that completely silences any warnings. So yeah, and then also sometimes they get the like negative, positive reviews removed by eBay. So it's an absolute mess. So here's the profile. As we can see, March 13th, 2016. So an old account. We have 100% feedback. We have it's marked as private, which is wild that is even a thing that you can do. But yeah, and it's just all positive. They used to sell stuff. We're going to take a look at what they sold. That's usually an indication. If you see an account that was that's doing fishy things, usually you can go back and look at the items that they've sold in the past or purchased in the past. I mean, we can't look at what they purchased in the past here because for some reason we're providing scammer protection on eBay here. And again, this is all stuff that, like, you would think that they're trying to prevent scams, or they let on that they're trying to prevent scams with their, like, authentication guarantee program, whatever you want to call it, where CGC finger bangs your stuff before sending it off to the next person, or PSA, I guess, if it's graded stuff. But regardless, this is all the stuff that they should have in place. I mean, this example is a little less harmless because I really hope that no one's actually affected by this and that they didn't have a huge chargeback that they're responsible for. But again, that's why, that's mostly why we're making the video here, educational. And also, if there's anyone that's running into that issue, I want you to let me know, and I will do my absolute best to help you out with that. Because it sucks. That can ruin the hobby for someone. You lose $4,000 on a transaction or something like that on eBay. If it doesn't ruin eBay for you, and it doesn't ruin the hobby for you in general, most people, even the higher end collectors, can't just afford to lose $4,000 on a transaction. Like that stings. That stings for almost everyone. All right, so stupid. Private feedback. This member, the Pokemon Professor, has decided to make his/her feedback comments private. Feedback can still be left for this user, and the feedback ratings left are shown above in summary format. So as a buyer, if they got that hidden, then, I mean, this is a red flag in general. If you're seeing somebody that has an auction and they hide the bidder activity, that's a red flag. That's a big old red flag. That's probably just don't even bother bidding on anything that they're selling. Just ignore. Go next. GG, go next. Here with the private feedback thing, this is like, shouldn't exist. But also, if someone's doing this, this is a bad sign. You shouldn't be doing that. There shouldn't be any reason that you need to do that. And that's just it. So we have, like, previous items, and we have they are in Alaska apparently, at least as far as they are letting on. I think like the location thing should also have to, maybe it needs to be like verified, something like that. So ignore all these similar sponsored items, but they were selling video games in the past. Here's the items that they were selling. Only recently were they selling. We had 0 bids on a couple auctions. Japanese CP6 20th anniversary Hollow Charizard. So it looks like they put that for auction a couple times. It has the authenticity guarantee. And yeah, so I guess no one wanted to pay $700 for it. We have some Switch games prior to that. And then, like, who knows? Maybe they didn't sell anything prior to that. Or it's just not showing anything that's older. I would think that it would show everything here. I don't think we have any dates selected. But this stuff doesn't show up in there. We can't look at their... I mean, we couldn't even before the profile was kind of wiped by... Or not wiped, but shut down by eBay. We didn't have the ability to actually look at the items that they're selling. But if we look at the items that they're selling, and then we go to completed items or sold items, completed items include the items that don't sell. Sold items is just the stuff that actually sold. So like it wouldn't show these Charizards if we went into the sold items. So that's all little tricks and tips and stuff that, like, if you spend time on eBay, you're going to learn that stuff to be able to look. And if there's anything fishy, if people are, it's usually a good sign if people are actually selling items on eBay, because chances are they're not going to try to rip people off if they're also a seller. They're not going to try and rip off sellers when they're a seller as well. That's usually a good sign. It's not a guarantee by any means. Same with the feedback. Again, unless they're mean to people when they're selling things, or just straight up not sending the right item and stuff like that, chances are they're not going to get negative feedback. And that's why, as a seller, you need to keep a cool head. You don't fight with the people that you're selling to, even if they're the worst customer of all time. You do your best. eBay can see that. Usually it'll help you out getting it resolved in your favor. If that's the case, if you're level-headed, if you do everything you can, and even if the buyer leaves negative feedback, there's a good chance that you can get it removed, as long as you can show that you weren't fighting with the individual, and that you did everything you can. Whether it was like, if it gets lost and they're like angry and leave a feedback about it, or if they're not happy with the item and you offer to refund it. Typically, if you're refunding, if you're offering to accept the return and everything, you're basically doing everything in your power to just like solve the issue. You're probably fine. And again, just don't, even if the person's being an absolute wiener baby to the extreme, he's going off on you in the comments, he's telling you that he slept with your wife, and that she enjoyed it. You don't fight with him. You just resolve it, block, go next. That's the system. I mean, that's kind of customer service in general. And again, I think a lot of people don't realize that, maybe if they're not used to customer service in some way. I think that's the biggest struggle, or like barrier to entry and just like successfully selling stuff on eBay. It's just you just let it go. Let it go. It doesn't benefit you in any way to fight with them. All right. Now, this is the refreshed version of the page before. So we have the Pokemon Professor. Their icon is gone. She gone. And not a registered user. So it looks like the account was nuked. I would imagine that this is, at this point, it's like eBay has to take legal action on the individual that did these chargebacks. Hopefully they're, absolutely reprimanded and have to pay all that money back. It looks like by the amount of money that we've seen, they're probably going to land in prison, which is like, what are you doing? What are you doing here? Was it worth it? Who knows? I don't know what they're thinking, what they're doing here. Clearly, like you have a payment method linked to that. It's not like the eBay can't find out who and where you are. You're using their platform. And you have to get the money somehow. Regardless, guys, hopefully this was a little bit of an educational piece. I know it's probably a snore fest. I know there's going to be someone out there that doesn't, or some people out there that are just like, no, I'm a diehard collector. I will never sell any cards ever. Don't worry about that. You should be buying and selling on eBay. It's so much less hassle, and maybe that's just like a learning experience that you need to undergo before, like, if you get ripped off a couple times on Instagram or Facebook or wherever else the shady weighties are buying and selling, eventually you know, it's you're gonna find that it's better to spend less time, maybe spend a little bit more money, and the fees and everything else, just the peace of mind that, you know, you're protected as a buyer, the extra exposure that you get as a seller. And as a seller, if you're watching this far and you sell on eBay, then you should be in my Discord as well, because we have a nice little promotion program where you can just copy paste your links to your Pokemon eBay listings. There's another channel for non-Pokemon stuff if there's other card games and stuff like that you're selling, but I don't know how many users are in the Discord now. There's over 3,000, maybe like 3,200, something like that, 3,100, 3,200. So you can just copy paste it into the eBay self promotion, any Pokemon items. There's like a little bit of a cap on them. They got to be $50 or more, or at least something really interesting. Like, don't clog it up with $2 Pokemon V and GX and crap like that. But it'll get posted in there, so you got to potentially 3,000 plus people that can see it in the Discord. Then also it will be automatically, or we'll post it on the associated Twitter and Instagram. So it basically just gets a lot more eyes on your stuff. Very useful if you're selling stuff that is a little bit obscure. It's free of charge, no charge. I mean, try to keep it tame. Like, but if you want to post a few items a day, you're more than welcome to do so. Interesting items are great. Weird, if it's weird, miscut, misprint, stuff like that, that stuff does pretty well. It'll get a lot of extra views, because like not necessarily everyone's looking for that stuff, or, you know, because some of it just, they might assume it just doesn't exist. But yeah, great resource. It helps support the channel as well. It helps grow the Discord. For the new people that are joining the Discord, if you're looking to discover what's out there, it's a great way to see new cards that you might not know exist. It's a great way to get that step in the door where you're you know, it's not guaranteed. I did have to recently remove a listing that it looked very scammy. But for the most part, you got a bunch of honest people that are joining the Discord. You probably don't want to scam in there. You probably don't want to scam in there. But also, there's always the backup with the eBay buyer protection as well. So that's why we do it that way. I think it's the best way to do like a buy and sell kind of situation. By all means, if you make friends for some reason, that's all on you if you want to take it outside of that. But it's a good spot to start. And if you're looking to start selling on eBay, or even if you have been selling on eBay, even if you're consigning stuff that's being sold in auctions on eBay, whether it's Rusty or whoever else, Z&G or whatever, if you have something that's consigned with somebody else and it's an eBay listing, you're welcome to post that in there as well. Get some extra free views on it. But yeah, that's I know it's been a little while since I've explained the eBay self-promotion, but yeah, make use of it. It's a great resource. It's not uncommon to get people to you know, look at your stuff over 1,000 times. But just looking at the views on the Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that, we can see how many people have seen it. The amount of clicks is going to vary wildly between like how interested they are in whatever item it is. But it's pretty safe to say that most of the stuff is going to get over 1,000 extra eyeballs on it. Primarily Pokemon collectors, if they're following those Instagram and Twitter accounts. All right, that's enough rambling. Holy crap, we're almost at 29 minutes here in this video. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Make sure tonight we have the happy hour chat, and it's every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Come on in there, voice and video chat if you have questions. If you're looking for people to hang out with, to open Pokemon cards with, and you don't have any in real life friends that like Pokemon, come on in there. It's a good time. Open your own product. Watch some other people open some stuff. Show off whatever you picked up recently. All kinds of stuff. Pokemon conversation mostly, but you know, it gets into other stuff. Sometimes we watch something together. Have a beverage, sit back, relax, and hang out. All right, that's it. That's all I got for you. Love you guys. Join the Discord. It's a great resource all around. And remember, if you have questions about any of this stuff, everyone's got to start somewhere. I know there's a bunch of people that just recently started with eBay, and we're lending some assistance to them. If you have questions, come on in, ask them. All right, see ya. Bye.